And joining us now is former federal prosecutor Joe Moreno. So, Joe, we saw today Republicans and Democrats can't even agree on the facts of what happened. Does this just underline that impeachment is a political process?
Laura, it seems like after months of hearings, almost over a dozen witnesses, documents, arguments by both sides, heated arguments in some cases, we're nowhere closer to any kind of bipartisanship than we were when we began. Clearly, on both the facts and the law and the process, Republicans and Democrats are very, very divided. I don't see that changing, really, going forward.
So what do you see happening now? Democrats are saying there could be a vote on articles of impeachment as early as this week. What do you think they'll be?
Well, last week's hearings from the four law professors that we heard from, normally a hearing like that would come after articles of impeachment have been drafted. The fact that they did it beforehand makes me think that basically they're going to rely heavily on last week's testimony as far as defining the four corners of what these articles will look like. So I have to think they've been drafted, they're being fine-tuned. I think a lot of the argument we're hearing today in the hearing by the attorneys are probably pressure testing those articles of impeachment, and effectively I think we could see at least drafts by the end of the week.
And what do you think they're going to be? Abuse of power by the president?
It will be a quasi-bribery, call it abuse of power, abuse of office type allegation. I don't think they'll use the term bribery because I think we'll get then into the squabble of whether officially the elements of bribery have been met, and they don't need to be for impeachment. But I think they're going to make it bribery-like so that people understand exactly what was going on here, cobbled together with some obstruction of justice allegations.
Meanwhile, the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, has just been in Ukraine, and Democrats are trying to say this is why it's so urgent to impeach the president, because that pressure campaign is continuing. Is Mr. Giuliani helping the president?
It's a bit of a head-scratcher as to what Mayor Giuliani is doing, because it seems like so much of the origin of this Ukrainian problem sort of started with him. So the fact that as we are in real time fighting over this issue, he's back in the Ukraine. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, but again, the optics are not good. And it seems like, the reports that Attorney General Barr has informed the president, you're not really being well served these days by your attorney, Rudy Giuliani. That seems to bear out by what we're seeing here in the media.
Meanwhile, on the origins of the Russia probe, the Inspector General found that the FBI investigation didn't have political bias and was legally founded, but he was very critical about performance failures in obtaining a surveillance warrant. Is this the end of that story?
It's not. So, right, I think we will see some heavy criticism of some individuals at the FBI and the Justice Department, and perhaps some cleanup as to how the FISA process works. But we know from what U.S. Attorney Durham and the Attorney General Bill Barr are looking into, they're saying not so fast. Our investigation is broader. We have access beyond just the Justice Department and the FBI to the intelligence community and even international resources. So we don't necessarily agree with what Inspector General Horowitz issued today. So that means that we're going to be hearing about not just the Inspector General report, but the Durham investigation, probably months from now. So the story is definitely not over.
And what does it do to the impeachment inquiry?
It sort of runs in parallel, right? I mean, I think it's a bit of a distraction. It allows the president to kind of keep beating this drum that this whole thing was a setup. And I think it goes to a strategic question by the Democrats. Do we incorporate any part of the Russia probe, the Robert Mueller findings, in impeachment? It could add to the case. It could bulk it up. But at the same time, it dredges up this entire controversy about how the probe began.
Joe Moreno, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Laura. Always good to be here.